So it looks like we are on the precipice. We are very near to a giant milestone for Deadpool and Wolverine. And how do I know that? Well, Collider wrote an article. I don't normally read Collider, that kind of cues us in on what's been happening with Deadpool and Wolverine. And I have to say, I'm excited about this news. Deadpool and Wolverine nears humongous global box office milestone ahead of its digital debut. This was published recently, and I love those images. Now, having completed 2 full months of release, Deadpool and Wolverine is gearing up for a resurrection of digital streaming platforms, and physical media shows up next month, which means that it has enough time to pass another milestone or two at the box office. This weekend, the film notched new wins, both domestically and worldwide, as it retained a spot inside the top 5 here in the United States. The superhero blockbuster recently overtook The Avengers to become the 5th biggest Marvel Cinematic Universe hit of all time, which is probably where it will stay for the foreseeable future, considering that unless there's a massive secondary push now, I don't think this has the legs for it. With 627 million domestically and another 6.89 million from overseas, the film's cumulative global haul now stands at 1.317 billion. Deadpool and Wolverine remains the 7th biggest MCU movie of all time at the global box office, behind Black Panther, Avengers Age of Ultron, The Avengers, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. Deadpool and Wolverine is the 2nd biggest hit of the year, behind Inside Out 2. Of course, those both come from Disney. And this R-rated movie is, the biggest R-rated film of all time. And it's currently among the 20 highest grossing films in global box office history. The movie is largely credited for reviving the Marvel brand after a dismal run that saw the studio release its first outright bomb, The Marvels, and earn an apathetic audience response for practically the first time as well, with all those successive failures. Even hits such as Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Thor, Love and Thunder were compared unfavorably to their immediate predecessors. They also didn't earn enough money to be considered profitable, although perhaps Black Panther, Wakanda Forever did. Collider asks a very strange question here. Can Marvel Jesus beat T'Challa? Deadpool and Wolverine not only earned positive reviews, it holds a fresh 78% approval rating on the aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, but is seen as the beginning of a new era in MCU storytelling, which it desperately needed. It marks the first appearances of both titular characters in the MCU, the biggest film franchise in history, which was made possible by Disney's takeover of 20th Century Fox and its asset just a few years ago. Lots of years ago, by the way. The film was praised for its warm farewell to the Fox era of Marvel movies, which introduced an entire generation of the X-Men. Yeah, it's true. Produced on a reported budget of $200 million, Deadpool and Wolverine is directed by Sean Levy and stars Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in the central roles, alongside Matthew McFadden and Emma Corrin. The film also features cameo appearances from Channing Tatum, Jennifer Garner, Wesley Snipes, and many more. Of course, the film still sits in theaters. It continues to do rather well, and it's a film I actually enjoyed enough to consider going to the theater a second time. There hasn't been one like that in a long time, and Deadpool and Wolverine nearly earned it. I think the biggest surprise to me was the fact that it did earn as much as it did. This is an R-rated film after all, and people were taking their kids to see it. That may be a little bit disturbing to some, but it's unsurprising to me because people seem to be becoming immune to the idea that kids may need to preserve their innocence for a little while. And while some of the jokes may not hit those under the age of 10 or 12, many of them into the early teens certainly did. And this also reflected an era where Disney seems to be more willing to let the creators themselves have a little bit more creative freedom. It's not so locked down, and it's not so film by committee. According to Ryan Reynolds himself, he only was asked 1 or 2 times to tone something down or change a line. And that's pretty impressive. The question is, will this type of attitude persevere? Can Disney maintain their hands-off approach to creative efforts like this? and maybe allow for a little more wide berth when it comes to doing some traditional Marvel stories. Based on a recent release called Agatha All Along, I'm starting to question whether or not that's even possible. So I ask you, the wonderful audience out there, are you more interested in films like Deadpool and Wolverine in a return to form of Marvel, or are you interested in the new products that are being geared for a modern audience and seem to be disconnected from anything in any presentation or marketing that we're familiar with from Marvel Studios? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And while you're down there, hit the thumbs up, share the video out there. Be sure you're still subscribed because a lot of people have been unsubscribed. And if you're not, just hit that little red button and turn it to gray. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, take the time to wash your hands because it's good hygiene. And until next time, see ya.